The Void Stalker stopped at the junction where Sarah had turned. Its long head tilted to one side as it breathed in deeply. The scent hit its enhanced senses like a wave. Blood. Fresh blood. Warm and rich with life. The creature's eyes glowed brighter with excitement. In all its long existence, spanning hundreds of hunting cycles across dozens of worlds, blood always meant the same thing. Weakness. Fear. Easy prey waiting to be claimed. The stalker began to follow the trail. Each drop of blood on the metal, Floor called to it. Its kind had evolved to track wounded prey across vast distances. Even in the vacuum of space, they could follow a scent trail between star systems. Here in the enclosed tunnels of the colony, the blood scent was like a beacon. Other stalkers had joined the hunt now. 3 more of the creatures flowed through the corridors, drawn by the promise of fresh prey. They moved without sound, their forms shifting between solid and ghost-like as they navigated the tunnels. The lead stalker paused at another drop of blood. It lowered its head and breathed in again. Yes, the scent was strong here. The prey was bleeding well. It would be weak, soon, easy to catch. But as the creature continued to follow the trail, something began to feel different. The blood drops were not random. They formed a clear path, yes, but not the chaotic trail of panicked prey. The drops were evenly spaced, almost like the wounded creature was moving with purpose instead of blind fear. The stalker pushed the thought away. All prey bled the same. All prey died the same. It had hunted across the galaxy for ages beyond counting. It had tracked down the fierce warriors of Proxima 7. It had cornered the clever trap builders of the asteroid rings. It had caught the swift runners of the crystal moons. Every species had thought they were special. Every species had been wrong. The blood trail led deeper into the colony, past empty workstations where other prey had tried to hide, past sealed doors that meant nothing to creatures who could phase through solid matter. The stalkers followed, patiently knowing that wounded prey always grew weaker. But the lead stalker began to notice something strange about this particular scent. Yes, there was blood. The metallic tang was clear and strong, but mixed with it was something else. Chemical traces that its enhanced senses could pick apart like individual notes in a song. There was adrenaline in the scent. That was normal. All prey felt fear. All prey had their bodies flood with stress chemicals when they knew death was coming. But this adrenaline was different somehow. The stalker had smelled the adrenaline of 10,000 different species. This smelled wrong. Not wrong like sickness or poison. Wrong like it did not belong to prey at all. The creature paused in the corridor and breathed in more deeply. Its mind, evolved over millions of years to be the perfect hunter, began to analyze what it was smelling. Beneath the blood and adrenaline were other traces. Pheromones that spoke of determination instead of despair. Chemical signals that suggested focus rather than panic. And underneath it all, something that made the ancient parts of the stalker's brain whisper warnings. The scent profile was familiar somehow. Not the specific smell, but the pattern of it. Like an echo of something from long ago. Something important that its species had learned to recognize and remember. The other 3 stalkers had caught up now. They moved past their leader, eager to claim the wounded prey. But the lead stalker remained still, trying to understand what its senses were telling it. Millions of years of evolution had given the Void Stalkers perfect hunting instincts. They could track any prey across any distance. They could phase through matter to reach their victims. They could move faster than most creatures could think. But evolution had also given them something else. Something that had kept their species alive through countless ages of galactic history. The ability to recognize when they were not the apex predator. It was rare. In all the lead stalker's long existence, it had encountered perhaps 3 species that triggered this ancient warning system. Creatures so dangerous that even void stalkers learned to avoid them. Beings that could turn hunters into prey. Each time, the scent pattern had been the same. Blood that carried no fear. Adrenaline that spoke of preparation for battle rather than flight. Chemical signatures that marked something born to kill rather than to be killed. The lead stalker's eyes dimmed slightly as doubt crept into its mind. Could this wounded prey be one of those creatures? It seemed impossible. The being had run from them, it was bleeding. It was alone and hurt. But the scent did not lie, and the scent was wrong. Ahead, the blood trail continued toward the emergency bunker section. The other 3 stalkers had already moved forward, following the easy path of drops on the metal floor. They sensed wounded prey and nothing more. Their hunger drove them forward, but the lead stalker hesitated. Deep in its genetic memory, warnings whispered of ancient encounters, times when the hunters had become the hunted, when creatures that seemed like prey had revealed themselves to be something far more dangerous. The scent grew stronger as they moved deeper into the colony. More blood, yes, but also more of those strange chemical traces, more of that wrong adrenaline, more of the pheromone pattern that spoke of a predator's mind in a prey animal situation. One of the other stalkers let out a low hunting call. It had found something interesting ahead. The lead stalker forced itself to move forward, fighting, against instincts that told it to retreat. What it found made those instincts scream even louder. The blood trail did not just lead toward the bunkers. It split and branched. Some drops went left toward the main bunker entrance. Others went right toward a maintenance shaft. Still more led straight ahead to what looked like a dead end. This was not the random bleeding of wounded prey. This was deliberate. The creature was laying multiple trails, creating options, planning ahead. The lead stalker breathed in deeply once more. The scent was strongest straight ahead, toward what appeared to be a dead end. But its enhanced senses could detect something else. Air currents that spoke of hidden passages, metal vibrations that suggested the dead end was not solid. The wounded prey was not running in panic. It was not seeking a place to hide and die. It was doing something that prey animals never did. It was setting a trap. For the first time in its long existence, the lead void stalker felt something it had never experienced while hunting, a cold certainty that it was walking into danger, that the creature leaving this blood trail was not what it seemed to be. The other stalkers had spread out to follow the different trails. They sensed easy prey and the promise of feeding. But their leader remained frozen in the corridor, breathing in a scent that told it everything it needed to know. Somewhere ahead, something that bled like prey and moved like prey was thinking like a predator, and every instinct the stalker possessed was screaming at it to run. Sarah pressed herself against the wall inside the maintenance shaft. Her shoulder throbbed where the metal had torn through her suit, but she ignored the pain. She had work to do. The shaft connected to 3 different tunnel systems. Perfect for what she had planned. She opened her tablet and called up the colony's power grid. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen, rerouting electrical systems and overriding safety protocols. Behind her, she could hear the soft sounds of movement in the corridors. The stalkers were following her trails. Good. Let them come. Sarah had spent 3 years maintaining every system in this colony. She knew which power lines ran through which walls. She knew where the emergency steam vents connected to the main tunnels. She knew exactly how much pressure the mining equipment could generate before the safety systems shut it down. She also knew how to turn those safety systems off. Her tablet beeped softly as she finished the first setup. The power conduits in Corridor 7 were now carrying 3 times their normal load. One small spark and they would explode like bombs. Sarah smiled grimly and moved to the next part of her plan. Meanwhile, the lead void stalker stood frozen in the main corridor. The wrongness of the scent had triggered something deep in its mind. Genetic memories that went back millions of years were surfacing like bubbles in dark water. The first memory was of a world covered in ice and stone, a planet where nothing should have been able to survive. But something had lived there. Something that hunted the hunters. The stalkers had arrived expecting easy prey. Instead, they found creatures that turned the entire planet into a weapon. Beings that used the ice and stone and storms as tools. The few stalkers that escaped carried warnings in their genetic code. Stay away from the ice hunters. Stay away from the ones who make weapons from worlds. The second memory was worse. a system of floating cities where the inhabitants seemed weak and soft. The stalkers had attacked in force, expecting quick victory, but the soft creatures had been planning for their arrival. Every city became a trap. Every building became a killing ground. The stalkers learned too late that some prey evolved by becoming smarter, not stronger. The third memory made the lead stalker's body tremble. A single creature on a dead moon, alone and wounded, just like the prey they were hunting now. The stalkers had surrounded it, confident in their numbers. But the creature had not tried to run or hide. Instead, it had stood and fought. When the battle ended, half the hunting pack was dead. The survivor carried a new warning in its genes. Some prey animals were predators wearing false skin. All three memories shared the same scent profile: blood with no fear, adrenaline that spoke of battle plans instead of panic, chemical traces that marked a mind built for war, not flight. The same scent that filled the corridors now. The lead stalker tried to call out to its packmates to warn them away, but the other three had already split up to follow the different blood trails. They were too far away to hear, too focused on the hunt to listen. In the maintenance shaft, Sarah finished her second trap. The steam vents in Corridor 9 would now release superheated gas at the touch of a button, enough to cook anything in the tunnels. She wiped blood from her tablet screen and moved on to the third setup. The mining colony had been built to extract valuable minerals from deep underground. That meant heavy equipment, massive drills that could punch through solid rock, excavation charges that could blast through mountain faces, transport systems that moved tons of material every hour, all of it connected to the central power grid. All of it under Sarah's control. She opened the mining system controls and began typing. Override codes flowed across her screen. Safety protocols disabled, power limiters removed, emergency stops deactivated. The massive drill in Corridor 12 began to spin up. Its diamond-tipped head started rotating slowly at first, then faster. The safety system that would normally shut it down after 10 minutes of operation was no longer active. The drill would keep spinning until something stopped it, or until something got in its way. Sarah moved to her final position. A junction, where all three blood trails would lead the stalkers. She had turned the entire section into a death trap. Power explosions to the left, superheated steam to the right, a massive drill straight ahead, and in the center a small human engineer with blood on her hands and murder in her eyes. The first stalker appeared at the far end of Corridor 7. It moved with the confidence of a perfect predator. Its yellow eyes scanned the area, looking for wounded prey. The blood trail led directly toward Sarah's position. The creature began to flow forward, passing through support beams and wall panels like they were made of air. It was eager now. The scent of blood was strong here. Fresh and rich, the prey would be weak from blood loss, easy to catch and kill. The stalker was halfway down the corridor when Sarah triggered the first trap. The power conduits exploded in a chain reaction of sparks and flame. Electrical fire raced along the walls. Metal glowed white-hot. The stalker tried to phase through the explosion, but electricity does not care about solid matter. Lightning found the creature and held it. Its scream echoed through the tunnels as current flowed through its body. But void stalkers were hard to kill. The creature survived the electrical storm, though badly burned. It crawled toward Sarah's position, still hunting despite its injuries. Sarah waited until it was close enough. Then she triggered the steam vents. Superheated gas filled the corridor in seconds. The temperature rose to levels that would melt most metals. The stalker's scream cut off as the steam hit it. Its body, already damaged by electricity, could not survive the sudden heat. It collapsed and did not move again. 1 down. 3, 2, go. The second stalker had taken the right corridor. It too had heard the explosions and screams, but hunger drove it forward. Prey was close. Wounded prey that smelled of blood and fear. But as it moved closer to Sarah's position, the creature began to notice the same wrongness that had frozen its pack leader. This did not smell like normal prey. The adrenaline was wrong. The pheromones spoke of planning and patience, not panic and flight. Still, the stalker continued forward. It had hunted for too long to be stopped by strange scents. It would claim this prey and feast well. The creature rounded the final corner and saw its target, a small human female, bleeding from a shoulder wound. She stood in the center of the junction, holding some kind of device. Her eyes met the stalker's yellow gaze, without fear. That was the moment the stalker truly understood what its pack leader had tried to warn them about. This was not prey. This was something wearing the shape of prey, something that trapped hunters and killed without mercy. The creature tried to retreat, but it was too late. Sarah's finger moved on her tablet, and the massive mining drill roared to life. The diamond-tipped head spun at maximum speed as it extended from the wall directly behind the stalker. The second hunter died faster than the first. Sarah stood among the wreckage of her traps, breathing hard. Blood still flowed from her shoulder, but her eyes were bright with focus. 2 stalkers dead, 2 more somewhere in the tunnels. She began planning her next trap. After all, she was just getting started. In the main corridor, the lead Void Stalker felt its packmates die. For the first time in galactic history, one of the galaxy's apex predators made a decision that went against every hunting instinct it possessed. It turned around and began to retreat. The lead Void Stalker moved through the corridors like a creature haunted by ghosts. Every step away from the human's scent brought a mix of relief and shame. In millions of years of existence, its species had never retreated from prey. The very concept went against everything they were. But the genetic memories would not stop. They flooded its mind like a dam breaking. Memory after memory of encounters with creatures that should have been prey but were something else entirely. The ice. Hunters who turned frozen worlds into weapons. The soft city builders who made every street a death trap. The lone fighters who stood against entire hunting packs and won. All of them had carried the same scent profile. All of them had been marked by evolution as something to avoid. The stalker paused at a junction, its enhanced senses picking up traces of its dead packmates. The scents told a story of quick, brutal deaths. No struggle, no chase. Just efficient killing by something that understood how to turn environment into weaponry. Its remaining packmate was still alive somewhere in the tunnels. The stalker could sense its presence, moving closer to the human's position. It tried to send a warning call, but the sound would not come. Some deep part of its mind refused to make noise that might draw the human's attention. Meanwhile, Sarah Chen stood among the wreckage of her first kill zone. Sparks still danced along the burned power conduits. Steam hissed from the damaged vents. The mining drill had retracted back into the wall, its diamond tip stained with alien blood. She checked her tablet. 2 heat signatures remained in the tunnel system. One was moving toward her position from the north passage. The other seemed to be retreating toward the main entrance. Sarah smiled grimly. One of them was learning. The smart one would live. The hungry one would not. She began moving toward the north passage, deliberately leaving drops of blood as she went. Her shoulder wound had mostly stopped bleeding, but she squeezed it to start the flow again. The scent trail needed to be strong, enough to follow. As she walked, Sarah's mind worked through the possibilities. The mining colony had 3 more heavy equipment bays, 2 backup power generators, a processing plant with industrial chemicals, and in the deepest level, the main excavation charges used for deep mining operations. More than enough to kill one alien monster. The surviving stalker in the North Passage moved with growing caution. It too had begun to sense that something was wrong. The scent it followed spoke of wounded prey, but the trail was too deliberate, too controlled. The creature paused at a sealed blast door. The heavy metal barrier should have been locked down during the emergency, but it hung open, as if someone wanted it to be easy to pass through. Beyond the door lay one of the equipment bays. Large mining vehicles sat in neat rows. Maintenance tools hung from the walls. Everything looked normal except for the drops of blood that led deeper into the bay. The stalker's instincts screamed warnings, but hunger drove it forward. It had been too long since the last feeding. The scent of fresh blood was too strong to ignore. It flowed through the doorway and began following the trail between the massive mining vehicles. The blood drops led toward the far end of the bay, where the largest excavation machines were stored. What the stalker did not notice was the small device Sarah had placed by the door. A motion sensor connected to her tablet. The moment the creature entered the bay, Sarah knew exactly where it was. She watched from her hiding place inside the cab of a massive excavation hauler. The stalker moved like liquid shadow between the vehicles, following her blood trail with perfect precision. It was beautiful in a terrible way. Evolution's perfect killing machine, designed over millions of years to be the ultimate hunter. Too bad it had never learned to hunt humans. Sarah waited until the creature was directly beneath the main loading crane. Then she activated the first part of her trap. The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a second later, but for those few moments, the bay was plunged into total darkness. In that brief time, Sarah moved. She dropped from the hauler's cab and rolled under the nearest mining vehicle. Her tablet showed the stalker's heat signature moving in confused circles, trying to locate the source of the blood scent in the darkness. When the emergency lights came on, Sarah was gone, but her blood trail now led in 3 different directions. The stalker stood frozen, trying to decide which path to follow. That moment of confusion was all Sarah needed. She triggered the loading crane's emergency release. 5 tons of mining equipment crashed down from above. The stalker tried to phase through the falling metal, but there was too much mass moving too fast. Some of it struck solid flesh. The creature screamed and rolled away, badly injured but still alive. Its left arm bent at an unnatural angle. Yellow blood leaked from cuts across its elongated head, but it was still dangerous, still hunting. Sarah activated the second part of her trap. The mining vehicles around the bay roared to life simultaneously. She had spent an hour rewiring their control systems, connecting them all to her tablet. Now they moved without drivers, their massive treads grinding across the metal floor. The injured stalker found itself surrounded by moving machines. Each one weighed dozens of tons. Each one could crush bone and flesh without slowing down. The creature tried to flow between them, but Sarah had planned for that too. She had filled the air with metal dust from the grinding treads, tiny particles that stuck to the stalker's body when it tried to phase, making it visible and partially solid. The first mining vehicle clipped the creature's injured arm. The stalker spun away, screaming in pain and rage. But there was nowhere to run. Everywhere it turned, another machine blocked its path. Sarah watched from her new hiding place behind a tool rack. The stalker was learning what it felt like to be hunted, to be trapped, to face something bigger and stronger and utterly without mercy. Just like every species the stalkers had ever hunted, the creature made one final desperate attempt to escape. It gathered its remaining strength and tried to phase through the ceiling, reaching for the upper levels and freedom. Sarah triggered the final part of her trap. The bay's industrial air recycling system activated at maximum power. Massive fans designed to clear mining dust and toxic gases roared to life. The suction was powerful enough to move tons of loose material. The half-phased stalker was caught in the airflow like a leaf in a hurricane. It slammed into the intake grill with bone-crushing force. The fans, designed to shred debris, made short work of what was left. Silence fell over the equipment bay. Sarah stood slowly, checking her tablet to make sure the heat signature was gone. It was. The second stalker was dead. That left only one. Sarah began walking toward the main entrance, following the path the lead stalker had taken. She was no longer bleeding, but that did not matter. She was not trying to lay a trail anymore. She was going hunting. In the main corridor, the lead void stalker felt its final packmate die. The sensation hit like a physical blow. It stumbled against the tunnel wall, overwhelmed by loss and confusion. Its species had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. They were the ultimate predators. The thing that other nightmares feared in the dark, but now it was alone. The last survivor of a hunting pack, destroyed by a single wounded human female. The stalker's enhanced senses detected movement behind it. The human was coming, following its retreat path with the patience of something that knew its prey could not escape. For the first time in its existence, The creature understood what every other species in the galaxy had felt when the Void Stalkers came hunting. Pure, helpless terror. It began to run faster toward the surface, driven by an emotion its kind had never known: the fear of being prey. The lead Void Stalker reached the main entrance to the colony as the artificial day cycle began. Pale light filtered down through the atmospheric processors, casting long shadows across the metal corridors. The creature pressed itself against the wall, breathing heavily. Every instinct screamed at it to phase shift into space and flee, to put star systems between itself and the human hunter. But something held it in place. A mixture of disbelief and ancient pride that refused to accept what had happened. It was the last of its pack. 3 hunters dead at the hands of a single wounded prey animal. The shame burned worse than any physical injury. Behind it, footsteps echoed in the corridors. Slow and steady. Not the panicked running of prey, but the measured pace of something that knew its quarry was trapped. The stalker turned its head and saw her approaching. Sarah Chen walked through the blood-stained tunnels like death given human form. Her worksuit was torn and dirty. Her shoulder wound had soaked the fabric with red, but her eyes held the cold focus of a predator that had tasted victory and wanted more. In her hands, she carried a tablet connected to the colony's main systems. Every machine, every power grid, every life support system was under her control. She had turned an entire mining facility into her personal weapon. The stalker watched her approach and felt something it had never experienced: the absolute certainty that it was going to die. "You can understand me, can't you?" Sarah said, stopping 50 feet away. Her voice was calm and conversational. "Your kind has been hunting across the galaxy for millions of years. You must have learned our languages." The stalker said nothing, but its yellow eyes tracked her every movement. "I know you can phase through walls," Sarah continued. "I know you can move faster than most creatures can think. I know you have senses that can track prey across star systems." She held up her tablet, and the stalker saw dozens of red lights blinking on the screen. Each one marked a trap, a weapon, a system turned deadly. "But you know what you don't know?" Sarah asked. "You don't know how to fight something that turns your hunting ground into a weapon. You don't know how to deal with prey that thinks like a predator." The stalker's body trembled, not from fear alone, but from the genetic memories flooding its mind, all the warnings its ancestors had encoded in their DNA, all the species they had learned to avoid. "Your kind hunted the ice builders," Sarah said, taking another step closer. "Creatures that could turn entire frozen worlds into traps. They made your ancestors afraid of cold planets." Another step. The stalker pressed harder against the wall. "You hunted the city makers, beings that could turn every street into a killing ground. They made your kind afraid of urban environments." Sarah's eyes never left the creature's face. "And you hunted the lone fighters, species that could stand against entire packs and win. They made your ancestors afraid of creatures that refused to run." The stalker understood now. The genetic memories were not random warnings. They were lessons written in blood and death, instructions on which prey to avoid because they were not really prey at all. "Humans are all three," Sarah said quietly. "We build in the ice and make the cold our ally. We create cities that become weapons when we need them to. And we never, ever stop fighting." She was close enough now that the stalker could smell her. The scent that had triggered all those ancient warnings. Blood with no fear. Adrenaline that spoke of battle plans. Chemical traces that marked something born to survive. "Your pack made a mistake," Sarah continued. "You came to our colony. You hurt our people. You tried to hunt us like we were just another species of prey." The tablet in her hands beeped softly. On the screen, more red lights appeared. The entire colony was now wired to explode, burn, crush, or poison anything Sarah wanted dead. "But we're not prey," she said. "We're humans. And when something tries to hunt us, we hunt it back." The stalker finally found its voice. When it spoke, the words came out as a harsh whisper. "What are you?" Sarah smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "We're the species that survived an ice age by making tools from mammoth bones. We're the ones who built cities on every continent of a world that tried to kill us every single day. We're the creatures that looked at fire and decided to make it our servant instead of our master. She took one final step forward. The stalker could retreat no further. We're the apex predator of a death world, Sarah said. And you just learned why that matters. The stalker's nerve finally broke. With a sound that might have been a sob, it began to phase shift. Its body became translucent as it prepared to flee into space, to escape this nightmare and carry warnings to the rest of its kind. Sarah let it go. She watched as the creature flowed through the colony's outer hull and into the vacuum of space. Her tablet showed its heat signature moving away from the colony at incredible speed, running like prey runs, when it knows the predator is close behind. Sarah stood in the empty corridor for a long moment. Around her, the colony's systems hummed quietly as they returned to normal operation. The traps shut down, the weapons powered off, the mining equipment settled back into standby mode, but the message had been sent. For the first time in galactic history, a Void Stalker pack had been destroyed by their intended prey. The survivor would carry that knowledge back to its kind. They would smell human scent in the void and remember what happened here. In the deeper tunnels, alien voices began calling out. The surviving workers were emerging from their hiding places. Zek's deep voice echoed through the corridors as he searched for other survivors. The Grekki chattered excitedly as they found each other alive and unharmed. They would find Sarah eventually. They would see the dead stalkers and the destroyed equipment. They would try to understand how one wounded human had accomplished the impossible. But Sarah was not thinking about explanations. She was thinking about the look in the stalker's eyes as it fled. The absolute terror of a creature that had learned what it felt like to be prey. She hoped the lesson would stick. Humans had enough problems without galaxy-spanning predators hunting them. Better for everyone if the Void Stalkers found easier prey elsewhere. Sarah Chen turned away from the entrance and began walking back into the colony. She had work to do. Equipment to repair. Systems to rebuild. A life to get back to. Behind her, warning signals raced across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. Chemical markers and pheromone traces that would be recognized by every Void Stalker in existence. Messages written in the universal language of survival. Stay away from the humans. They are not prey. They are something far more dangerous. They are the ones who hunt the hunters. Word spread through the galactic predator networks with the speed of instinct. Species that had terrorized star systems for millions of years began to give human colonies a wide berth. Not because they were told to, but because their genetic memories suddenly screamed warnings when they detected human scent. The galaxy's apex predators had found something higher on the food chain, something that did not run when hunted, but turned and fought with the fury of a species born on a world where everything tried to kill them. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through advanced technology or superior firepower, but through the simple demonstration that they were very, very good at killing things that tried to kill them first. The Void Stalkers would remember, and they would tell others to remember too. In the depths of space, the surviving stalker continued its retreat, carrying warnings that would echo through predator species for generations to come. Behind it, on a small mining colony, Sarah Chen finished her work and went home for dinner. It had been a long day at the office.